All right, are the Houston Texans on the verge of making another move? And we're sitting in this spot where there's a lot of teams that have kind of run out of money. All right, and they're waiting till after the NFL draft to see what they're going to do. They're waiting until they see what other teams do, where rosters, depending on who's drafted, if there's going to be players who are going to be cut, veterans who are going to be cut. There's still a lot of money that can be left out on the table. But the Texans are one of the rare teams right now that still has money, and that means that they have the ability, if they want to go out to right now and sign another veteran free agent, they can absolutely do that. So in this video, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to talk about the salary cap, where you're sitting at right now. We're going to talk about the depth chart and where it might need to be made. And then we're going to look at an article from Battle Red Blog where they threw a few names out there. But here's the question I want to ask you first. Who is a name that you would like to see in a Texans uniform? Who's that guy out there as a free agent that you're like, I still want him here? And keep it reasonable, I guess, but I do think the Texans can free up even more money for another big contract. I just don't think it's pertinent or necessarily responsible. So first, let's look at what the salary cap situation looks like. All right. And right now, after your adjusted salary cap, active contracts, your dead cap, and all of that kind of stuff, you have an estimated cap space of, I guess, basically $24 million. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's closer to, that $3.8 million or whatever. But also you have this guy by the name of Robert Woods here, whose contract you can save for $5 million on. You have, depending on what you want to do with Jimmy Ward, you can save almost $4 million. And so you do have the ability to bring some other people. Now, you're going to have to pay people next year, so please remember that. All right? Sorry for the heavy scrolling. I just want to show you the adjusted cap totals down here for $24 million is what you're sitting at free. So you can go out and sign another player or two. Now, teams like to walk into the season, if at all possible, with like 5 to 10% of their cap free. So right now you're at almost 10% of your cap free, which is a really nice position to be in case those free agents become available later. I think that's a good thing. Now, let's look at the depth chart, because you are at a place where, hey, you're good. And I would say the only positions that you might want to think about seriously going out and getting a veteran are somewhere on the offensive line. I think it would, I think it could be smart to say, do we trust Kenyon Green at left guard? Has he proven it? Has Scruggs proven it? There are players that you might need to go out and get something else. Also, maybe a bigger defensive tackle. And I think you can get one of those in the second round of the draft pretty easily. I think that's a position of need. I think maybe some depth at linebacker, but it's honestly not bad. And you may want to go out and get another corner. And there's some corners out there that are good, depending on how confident you are with, will Jeff Okudah or CJ Henderson finally put it together and become a good player. So now let's go ahead and look at these and this article where they threw out a few names. All right. The magic bullet theory, and hey, we got enough money to get one more person. So they started at quarterback with Ryan Tannehill. I'm out on that. I'm fully out on that. You have Case Keenum. You have Davis Mills currently. I'm out. And I don't understand necessarily. I thought that was the one weird coaching thing that happened last year with the whole, we're going to start Case Keenum. The team went 1-1, I think. So, it's not the end of the world, but I didn't fully understand it. But I think you have a good, even backup quarterback situation. You have guys that have been starters in this league that are backup quarterbacks for you. All right, running back, Kareem Hunt. Once again, as you look at the depth chart here at running back, you have Joe Mixon, you have Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce will be better. He will be better in year 2 under this regime. With the type of offense that the Texans run, I've talked about this before, whether it was in San Francisco, whether it was in Minnesota, whether it was in one of the many other places that run this Kyle Shanahan, whatever offense that you can call it Kyle Shanahan, you can call it the McVay, you can call it whatever you want offensive tree. They all have increased running production in year 2. So just by staying there for another year, he will be better. Fully healthy, I still question how healthy he was. But he will absolutely be able to learn behind Joe Mixon and be a good second option in a similar vein of Joe Mixon. So I don't know that you need to go sign one. I think you can just draft one in that. Now, tight end Logan Thomas. This makes sense. He's a guy who asked for too much money. He did. He just asked for too much money, but he would be a good guy as a veteran that could not only spell Dalton Schultz, but Dalton Schultz has had a couple of injury things here or there. All right, so it would be nice to have a guy that could go in and do the things that Schultz can do with that good, with that consistency that a veteran would. I think Brevin Jordan is talented. He's fast. He's very fast. So he's a good receiving threat, but not an every down tight end type of guy. So we're not going to go with all of them. I do think Andrews Pete or Dalton Risner, that's the one. Those are the ones that make a ton of sense to me. Interior guys. He actually said the same thing that I was kind of saying. The idea of relying on Kenyon Green scares me a little bit. There are a few guards available. He listed 2 that started. He has started 10 or more games in 7 of the last 8 seasons. He's shown that he can be a starting caliber guard. All right. Dalton Risner, he has started 10 or more games in every season of his career. There's obviously a reason why these guys haven't signed, likely because the market doesn't view them as solid starters at this point. You know what? We've said it on this channel before. This isn't our first channel. We started with Sports Talk Detroit, and we moved over to other teams because we love teams that the NFL or the national media kind of ignores. The Texans being one of them. That's why you'll never see Cowboys content on here. But at the same time, a lot of people thought that when we signed Graham Glasgow last year. We brought him back on a cheap, like $4 million contract. 4 or 4.5, something like that. And when he got into the right system again, this is the Lions were the team that drafted him too. When he came back, even though he was a little longer in the tooth in his 30s, he had by far the best year of his career. And not only did he become a starting caliber guard again, but he was like a top 10 caliber guard. So things can change. All right. This next one is very interesting if we talk about it, and it's the defensive backs. And this is where I want to spend a little bit of time because you have the big names here. You have Justin Simmons. If you can free up the money, this could be extremely helpful for your secondary. He's obviously the best credentialed player still in the open market. We have another channel, not us personally, but a guy that we had start a channel with us who his name's Ben. He does a great job. It's Sports Talk Denver. And he talks about the Broncos. And man, oh man, is he bummed that they had to let Simmons go. Again, he's older. I think he's like 31 years old. He has just been a fantastic safety. He's been a top 5 or top 10 safety every year that he's played. He's just phenomenal. Then you have a couple of guys that are a little bit older, longer in the tooth that might be able to help you. And this is where I start getting really excited. All right. Xavier Howard might be a good stopgap at corner. Stephon Gilmore can be more than a stopgap. How about you allow him to come over, all right, just like Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys, and have a better year with you than he may have even had with them. Like, I think a lot of people, when Dalton Schultz was traded, or not traded, when he went to the Texans, it's like, what? And because like it was a rookie quarterback, he was moving away from Dak Prescott. It's like, oh, he's not going to have as good of a year this year. Nope. He was great. He was great. And I think Gilmore can do the same thing in this defensive system. Then you have a couple players that I think are really good answers. Calais Campbell. All right. I think this is funny. He said, I think Campbell played back in the day of leather helmets. In all seriousness, he would be the last hurrah kind of signing where you'd hope to give him 20 to 25 snaps a game in key situations. The position is littered with rotational tackles, so getting more and more couldn't hurt, but also he might be able to do it at a higher level. And then linebacker Zach Cunningham, you've seen him, right? You've seen him. He's a 2-down linebacker. You just need to put him in the right situation. So, I think they could be setting up for another move to just further their team. Do they wait till after the draft? Maybe. But I'm always on the side of do it before the draft, because when you get to the draft, you want to be able to just simply draft best talent available. That's what you want to do. You don't want to be pigeonholed into, I need a D tackle, or I need a safety, or I need a second corner, or I need an interior offensive lineman. You don't want to be pigeonholed into that, because then you reach for guys and it doesn't go well. Get your roster to a place where you can draft best position or best talent available, and then you can do that. So that's why I always say, if there's another spot where you feel like your team has a need, bring in another player. It's that simple. All right. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much. We want to be your go-to spot for Texans content. So please like, subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.